All right, everyone. Last looks. Quiet on set. Roll sound. Sound speed. Roll camera. Camera speed. Scene 1. Take 1. Market. And action. Hi, I'm Ed, the host of Savannah on Film, and we explore the economic and cultural impact and values of the film industry in Savannah through conversations with people who work in the industry and related fields. You can find us here on WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Hello, Savannah. Hello, the world. Welcome to another wonderful episode of Savannah on Film. And I am honored to have one of my favorite guests here to the show. And I've admired her work. I think you filmmakers out there take notice because this young lady, she is underrated. You don't appreciate her enough. Her talent is spectacular, and always been impressed by her. And there'll be more to say, but let's get on and get things going the way we always do here on Savannah on Film. And welcome to Savannah on Film. I'm your host, Ed Susevich, and our purpose is to explore the economic and cultural values and impact of the film industry in Savannah through conversations with people who work in the industry and related fields. We are here on WRUU 107.5 FM LP, Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Our guest today is Langley Watts Cornwell, and let me tell you a little bit about Langley. Welcome, Langley, to the show.
Hi, Ed.
And Langley is... when I think of Langley, I think of supreme acting skills, sophistication, elegance.
Whoa.
And a realness. Oh, yeah, don't fall out your chair.
I know. Whoa.
I mean it, though.
You're setting the bar pretty high here.
The bar is, you've set the bar pretty high.
Thank you.
And she has a realness in her acting style. She shows a depth of character that I think few have attained. Langley was trained in theater. She's done improv. She's solved all the world's problems.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Bring them on.
She's working on that. And she has, well, she usually portrays very educational and stylish women in the roles that she plays. But they always have a little secret they're hiding.
A little twist.
There's always that little twist, and that's the wonderful part. From acting in TV and film, she displays a wide range of acting skills throughout the roles that she plays. When not in front of the camera, you might find her skydiving. I tell you, there's so many guests I've had on this show.
Yeah.
I think Dana, maybe Dorothy, that skydive, and whitewater rafting.
There you
do
go.
that.
Absolutely.
I need to get out more, apparently.
Adventure seeker.
Y'all are some adventure seekers. I love it. I totally love it. But you might find Langley traveling the world or just simply spending time in nature. Now, Langley is also very passionate about animal and environmental causes.
Amen.
Where she's really the most active. I've been looking forward, like I said, to having Langley joining me on the show, not just because of her vast acting skills, but because she is a truly wonderful, kind individual.
Wow.
And so with that, I say a very heartfelt welcome to the show, Langley.
Ed, thank you. Can you be my agent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charge a
You've got.
lot.
I was about to say you've got other jobs. I know.
Yeah, I've got a lot of jobs that I've got to do. I wouldn't mind, though. Well, you make it easy.
Thank you. That's
You
very
make it
nice.
look easy, you know.
Appreciate
And
that.
let's see. We'll start like we always do with accomplishments. In 2018, where might be where we met, where a lot of my film friends, as I call you guys, met on Indeed.
That is the first time we met.
That's the first time we met?
I think so. Yeah.
And anybody who's listened to the show here has heard me talk about the Suitcase trilogy of films written and directed by David Harlan Russo. Indeed was 2017, but I think we filmed it 2017. It would have been.
we
Yeah,
did.
last year. Yeah, last year.
Year before.
And it got in the SSU in 2018, the Savannah State University Indie Film Festival. The film won in 2018 Best Cast Ensemble Drama, Indeed. And it also stars the wonderful, probably one of our best actors in Savannah, Patrick Roper.
No doubt about it. Hands down.
Big fan there of Patrick's.
Me too.
And also of Aaron Paderewski, who you're going to see more of soon, and you're going to hear more of soon, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
But he was also an actor in that. And Dorothy Jolie, we went back and forth on
I
this.
know. I think it's really Jolly, but she likes Jolie.
Yeah. Jolie.
Yeah, there you go. Break into song, Ed. How about it?
I could song and dance and fall right on the floor there. And also Catherine Perkins was in that film.
Yeah,
she
she
was
was.
wonderful in that too. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in your timeline of films. And of course, if there's anything you've got DNAs on you can't speak about, then, let me know. We'll move on right
Okay.
along. So
Right on.
let's just dive right into your filmography here.
Okay.
There is one in pre-production, which sounds very intriguing. It's called Write About Me.
It's a good film.
And you play, or can I say?
You can say, right.
I can say who you play? Okay.
You can say who I play, yeah.
You play Joan Garrison. And writer-director Bill Frost is who also stars in the film. Is attached to this film. Carrie Ann Nobles and yourself, of course, star in the film. And the should I give the tagline or?
Yeah, it's a pretty intense film.
Okay, and I'm just going to give like the brief tagline here. 6 college students are awarded the opportunity to spend a few days with award-winning author William Moore, their college professor. When they arrive at his quiet country, ... and that's where I'm going to leave it.
By the way, I think the only reason you wanted to say the tagline is to throw on your radio voice.
That's my radio voice. It's my after-hours radio
There
voice.
you go. Yeah, jazz radio.
That's my jazz. Hey, I'm a cool hip cat. No, I'm not. Anyhow, so can you tell us a little bit about Write About Me?
Well, the thing that I love about that film is because, like you said in the intro, a lot of times I play like intellects or authoritative figures, and that's good and fun. But Write About Me, Bill cast me in this one as a drunken, smoking, bad-mouthing mama. And I'm telling you, Carrie Ann plays my daughter, and the way I talk to that girl in this film is horrible. I would never talk to anybody like that in real life. But it was intense and very, very good. That was a fun role. And
I was going to ask, was it fun?
I loved it. I loved it because I got to step out of what I normally do.
Because you're normally that sophisticated,
the
just,
authoritative kind of straight-laced type. But this one, I got to throw down. Like I had a beer bottle in one hand, a cigarette in the other, and I was in an old beat-up bathrobe. And it was fun.
That's hard to imagine you, because every time I see you, you're always so sophisticated looking.
I'm in business clothes usually.
But that's acting, right?
Well, it is,
It is acting. So.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun, yeah.
Well, so, okay. I'm interested to see how that comes, and that's
I
in
am too.
pre-production.
It is
so.
indeed, yeah.
no ideas, nothing more you can say about when it's coming
right
out?
Now,
okay.
No.
I can understand that.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're going to have to forgive me on the next one because my French is not so well on this one, but there's one in post-production called Hello,
Hello,
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Yeah. And it's
Can
cool.
I say it in the southern way? Au revoir.
Hello, au revoir.
Hello,
I think that
au
would be
revoir.
the southern the translation. But yeah, that was a pretty cool one. It is the filmmaker went around. He is trying to get people he wants it to be a global project, and so he's getting actors from all across the world.
It's like 500 actors, I think.
Yeah. I think
amazing.
he's up to 600 now. Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's really an awesome project. I think it's a cool concept. And so what he does is he gives all the actors that he chooses like this little bit to say, and so it's going to be multilingual, obviously. And basically it's hello, good day, this is my name, and this is what I do. And it's going to be interspersed. Do you know the intro to Orange is the New Black? You know that intro? I think it's going to be kind of like that kind of montage-y looking thing. But it's fascinating. I was delighted to be a part of that and representing the South.
Now, the gentleman we're referring to, writer and director, he had the idea also for that, is Jason Crute.
Crute, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Okay. Now, we're looking back at 2016. Charleston Legal, Laws of Nature, a TV movie that was completed. You played Sergeant, and when I looked at the spelling, is this something we can say on the radio, the way that's pronounced?
Maybe not.
I don't want to say the name because but you played the sergeant, let's just say.
Yeah, and if we want to talk a little bit about acting and auditioning, and let me insert a little bit more into this.
Please.
The thing that I thought was cool about this is when I auditioned for this project, I auditioned for another role, and they already had somebody in mind for the other role, but they liked my audition. The part that I played was written for a black man.
Really?
Yes. And they wanted me in the project, so they rewrote it just a little bit to give me this role. And I just think that's interesting because, you know, I know one of the things that you and I have talked about off the air is a little bit of advice for people that are coming up or whatever. And I'm not trying to act like I'm up on a mountain espousing pearls of wisdom, but I just think it's a good example of you never know. And you should just always give it your best. And even if they have somebody else in mind for something, they still might want you for the project. And even if you look at the cast breakdown and there's nothing else for you, but they ask you to come in and read, go in and read and give it your best, because anything could happen.
That's so true. Yeah, you should never really turn down a project unless you've got your guts really telling you this is not the right project for me, or you don't feel comfortable or safe, which, you know, of course you should think twice then. But so what else can you say about that? About the storyline of it. Or
what I liked about the project is because I don't do a lot of comedy, and I love comedy. Really, the first half of my career, which was way, way, way long time ago, I only did comedy. And now when I'm having the second go at it, I do a lot more dramatic thing. I'm cast like we say, and now we're wearing that out. But we know how I'm cast. And I like comedy. And so I liked this because it walks right up to the line of slapstick, but doesn't go over. It's almost a parody. So it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's not obviously a parody. It's a fine line to walk, but I think we did it well. And for me, it's like laugh out loud funny.
Right. And, you know, I wonder about that. You know, to kind of follow up on that, do you sometimes feel typecast?
Oh, yeah. But, you know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because, well, and there, you know, you talk about the difference between a stage actor and a theater, a stage actor and a film actor. But I think in film, when you are typecast, you probably work more often, because casting directors know where to slot you in.
And if you're really good at that,
own it.
We can think of people who have been typecast in the industry, and they've created iconic roles.
Absolutely.
And, you got to ride that train. You got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But, it's good to see that you are versatile. I know you're versatile in your acting style, that you can do roles like, just out there crazy roles. And I know it's got to be very refreshing, because if people shouldn't put anybody in a box, because we're all capable of so much more than I think any of us realize,
I agree with you in general. What I'll say is, at the level that I am, which is, relatively new, I think you get cast more often if you play the same type over and over. It is only when you reach a certain level of, I don't know, fame is not really the right word, but when you reach a certain level, then you can really start exploring different character types. But if you look at a lot of our actors, character actors, leading ladies, leading men, they play a lot of the same until a certain time. And once they have really kind of, quote unquote, arrived, then they can start breaking that mold.
This leads me to another question, and not to get off track, because this
please
is all
get
important.
off track. Yeah, no, it's not that important.
But what about ageism in the industry? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to tell you, and I'm so glad that you just teed me up into one of my favorite subjects, and I did not lead you in this direction.
You did not.
And so I am delighted.
Let the record show.
Yes, let the record show. But for real, I feel like this is a great business that ageism does not play a part in. And let me tell you why. Now, okay, at the level like, around here, or, level 1 and level 2, maybe, because I get a kick out of reading breakdowns, and they say, we want an old lady, age range 45 to 55. And I'm like, dude, old lady? Old? 55?
I'm 48 now, and I can remember when I was in my 20s,
right?
40 was old.
It seemed old, didn't it?
60 is young to me.
Yeah, right on. Same here. Exactly.
Everything's the new 20 for me. I refuse to grow up.
No, I say 60 is the new 50.
Yeah, there you go.
But if I had a message, my message would be, you are never too old. And it is never too late to chase that childhood dream. And I get almost emotional about that, because people will send me private messages and talk to me about my quote-unquote courage for starting out doing this at such a late age. And, how they wish they had, that much, I don't know what, motivation to try something new. And it blows me away, because I think, why wouldn't you?
Wow.
Why wouldn't you? What would you rather be doing, really? And I don't mean to throw like an old tripe on ageism thing, but what would you rather be doing, really? Knitting a blanket or being on a film set? I mean, for me, it would be being on a film set. Yeah,
even if you're just sweeping the floor, or you're pulling cables, or you're gripping electric, whatever you're doing,
Sure.
If you're set dressing, you're doing whatever, at least you're on a set. And it's always an exciting time when you're on set.
I'm telling you, it's like a shot in the arm. It's like a shot of adrenaline for me.
Well, I want to go a little bit deeper down this hole that we've gone down.
I love this
which
hole.
Is okay. And what about women in particular in the industry?
And I'm telling you, and I've watched a lot, and cheers and hats off to the females that are fighting the wages and everything else right now, because we don't even really need to talk about this, but the first half of my career, I was in corporate America, and I worked in business, right? And I was, button up against the glass ceiling, and, I was kind of pioneering the way for women in the boardroom and all of that, and that was hard. This right here, to me, it's like a cakewalk. And
it's fun every day.
It's
even
fun
when
every day.
You're at your worst, you're so frustrated,
right?
Or if you can't get that line particularly the right way, it's still better than what she did before.
Well, exactly so.
Not to criticize people that are doing that, because you have,
and it served
I know
me
it's
well.
not.
It served me well, and
Same here.
I really don't mind. I mean, I'm happy that I did that. I'm also happy that
it gave you a good foundation.
It gave me a great foundation. But what I want to say back to the whole female and age thing is, there are women. Okay, good theater, good film reflects real life. There are men and women, all races, creeds, colors, religions, preferences, etc. That's what this world is made of. If theater or film is going to really reflect a microcosm of life, then you're going to have old women, old men, young women, young men, everybody. And so I just feel like it doesn't matter how old you are, or if you're a man or a woman, there should be a role for you, because you're a real person, and this is real life, and theater or film should be a slice of real life. So you should be okay. So why not?
I wholeheartedly agree with you there. And I think there is still that pressure in the industry for females. You have to look good. You have to always be on. I mean, I almost think that's, it's still in society to an extent. And we need to move past that. Men don't get judged on the same criteria as females do. A man gets, with age, he gets dignified, distinguished, dignified.
And a woman is wrinkly.
Yeah. And that doesn't, your outward appearance does not determine what inwardly you're capable of presenting in a character.
But I'll tell you, two of my favorite actresses are not beautiful people, and I think they are phenomenal. I mean, okay, come on. I should never have said that.
You mean that respectfully, I know.
I mean it in the classic, quote-unquote, Hollywood's idea of but not beauty. To me, they are remarkably beautiful. I'll say three. One is, I am a rabid Kathy Bates fan.
Oh gosh, I love Kathy.
The
Bates.
Woman.
She was on American Horror Story, which a friend got me to watch that the other night, and I was like, it's scary for me. She's phenomenal. She can do so much. Oh my gosh! Awesome. All the way back to I'm your number one fan.
Oh,
which is
I love it.
One of her best.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay, another one, and everybody who knows me knows I'm going to come up with this one. Margot Martindale, The Woman. Oh, come on, she is awesome. I don't know. Have you watched Justified?
I have not seen Justified.
You've got to get on Justified.
I've got friends that watched it, and they're like, why haven't you watched it? And I was like, I never got around to it.
You have to get around to it.
Okay.
She is remarkable as Ma Bennett in Justified. She's remarkable. And then also I'll say Dale Dickey, and I don't know if you know who she is, but Dale Dickey has made a good living being a wrinkly, fabulous, hard-looking woman. She was on Breaking Bad. She's on Orange is the New Black. I mean, the grittier, the better. And she was in Vice Principals.
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm so glad you brought that up. And I don't even know if I have that in my notes, but it blew my mind. That was such a crazy series. My wife and I watched it.
Yeah, it was fun.
And the part with the principal, and we can't really mention this on air, but what they did to that principal was absolutely horrible. But the show was weird because it turned really emotional.
It had heart.
It had heart, and you were in there sitting next to the principal there, and I just.
Indeed.
I'm like, I had no idea, knowing you this long, I had no idea that you were in Vice Principals, and I'm like, amazed. I'm like, you did such a wonderful job. I'm going back and I'm trying to watch some of them now.
Thank you. That's nice. But you check out Dale Dickey. She's in there. And she's, so all three of these women, I mean, they are my age or older. They are not, like I said, what you would consider classic Hollywood beauty. And these women are a ton in it. I mean, they are killing it. They are... I can't say enough about it.
I'm going to say this, and this is meant as a compliment, but you're Meryl Streep without all the awards.
Oh, whoa. Wow. I am glad we're recording.
Yeah, that is recorded.
That's going to be my new ringtone.
Hi, Meryl Streep.
I know.
She won't sound that deep, but hi, Meryl Streep. I don't know how Meryl Streep sounds.
But.
No, but Yeah, we need to, as a society, we're evolving, and I can see change in the industry and in the movies I watch. I'm a rabid movie fan. I've joined a new service where I can see like 10 trillion movies, and well, not that many. I'm overstating it by about a trillion or so, and so I'm getting to see a lot more movies, which makes me happy, and I like watching all different kinds of movies, and I love to see actors. And when I say actors, I mean actors, actresses. I just say actors, you know. But I love to see when an actor can take on a different role and not be the same actor. And I don't want to call out, but there are certain actors, you know, when they're in a film, they're that person in every film. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, having cornflakes, but sometimes I want cornflakes with applesauce thrown in or something crazy, or chocolate milk. Probably not applesauce, but you know what I mean. You know, there's so much diversity going on and so much rethinking of the way film has been and actors have been treated and the roles that in the boxes that we put them in. I think we're blowing the door off of some of that.
And I hear you, but if you want to do a point counterpoint, I'll say that at the end of the day, the film industry is a business, and at the end of the day, they are making films to sell tickets, and it's a tricky thing for an actor because your quote unquote fans or audience, and I know I'm of course not talking about myself, but you know the big guys. You want to see Meg Ryan being cute. You want to see Tom Hanks being lovable. You want to see, you know, Denzel Washington being a bad butt. I mean, you know, so that's what the fans go to the movies to see.
The funny thing about that, when the year that Halle Berry won, I think for Monster, and the year that
Denzel won for Training Day. I know.
Those were two of my least favorite films that they ever did.
You know why? Because they were playing different from what you have come to expect from them.
Maybe.
I believe so.
But they were negative. They weren't negative portrayals. They were probably very honest portrayals of those characters. But for me, they weren't positive enough. You know, and maybe I, you know, and you know, maybe it's apples, maybe it's oranges. I don't know. But those weren't my favorite of their movies. I mean, there's just so many movies, and yeah, maybe we're all a victim of that. You know, we put people in boxes. We don't mean to do that, but you know, you go with, you know, if I need X, Y, and Z, and this person checks off those boxes, then that makes sense to put them in that role.
Not to mention the fact that you have, you know, a producer has put up loads of money.
Right.
They don't want to take a chance. They want to pull in a known commodity. They want to pull in somebody that they know is going to get fannies in the seats in the theater, and that when this person comes on set, there's not going to have to be a lot of training. There's not going to have to be a lot of, you know, directing and, you know, touchy-feely stuff. The person's going to come in. They're going to do the job. They're going to deliver what they're known to deliver, and then they're going to call a wrap, and it's done.
Yeah, it's you know, I was on Galveston and I watched Beau Bridges come in, such a consummate professional. He came in, did his lines, you know, then he went and sat down, and you know, and then when he's done, he was gone. You know, he's just in and out. You do your stuff, and you know how to do it, and you did a wonderful job.
Speaking of that, I'm gonna use this moment to insert one of my favorite things. Speaking of vice principals, one of my favorite actors is Walt Goggins. And, you know, I spent a lot of time with the guy on the set of Vice Principals. Watching him, like you were just talking about Jeff Bridges, is like going to a master class in acting. Talk about a consummate professional. I mean, the guy comes in, he knows camera angles, he knows frame, he knows where, I mean, his eye lines, everything about what he did was absolutely mesmerizing and just laser focused and just nailed it every time.
Wow.
It was remarkable. And like you said, you know, just being able to be on set with these kinds of people and watch what they do.
There's an osmosis. You feel like you absorb some of their talent into your own collective.
I'm telling you, if only. I mean, I'd like to just open up my head and let their stuff pour in, you know? It was, oh my God, I still get excited thinking about it.
That's great.
Yeah, it was that good.
Wow. Well, with that, it's time. Wow, this has been fascinating conversation. It's time to pay the bills, so we got to take a quick break here. But we're going to be back in a few minutes with Langley Watts Cornwell.
Cornwell.
See, I did that.
I did that on purpose.
Me to
correct you. You were testing me.
I did that on purpose because I was joking with my wife. I said I'm going to call her the Duchess of Cornwall by mistake, because my wife does royal blogging, and so I'm always like I hear all this, and so it's
as long as you don't call me cornflake, I'm okay.
You said it. So we'll be back with some more cornflakes in just a moment.
Thanks.
Ogeechee Riverkeeper offers monthly canoe and kayak excursions in all of the river's watershed through October. This year's paddles will take adventurers from the river's twisting and turning northern sections near Wadley, west of Augusta, to broad coastal stretches near Harris Neck, south of Savannah. The trips range from beginner to intermediate in difficulty. Boat rental is available. For more information, visit ogeecheeriverkeeper.org.
WRUU brings you the most diverse and passionate local radio programming on the air in Savannah. This all-volunteer and nonprofit community radio station accepts no money from any form of government. Our diversity and independence is made possible only through the generous financial support of listeners like you. We rely on your annual and ongoing monthly contributions to cover the many costs associated with bringing you our broadcast and web programming. If you are a contributor, thank you. If you are not yet a contributor, please show your appreciation of the role WRUU plays in your life by becoming a contributor in any amount. You can donate quickly and easily by credit card or check. Just find the donate and subscribe links at wruu.org. Thanks for listening to and supporting WRUU.
Tune in Saturdays at 3 p.m. to Muses, Memoirs, and More, your show about authors, artists, and entertainers with your host, Adam Messer. You're listening to WRUU-LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
The Ogeechee Riverkeeper offers monthly canoe and kayak excursions in all of the river's watershed through October. This year's paddles will take adventurers from the river's twisting and turning northern sections near Wadley, west of Augusta, to broad coastal stretches near Harris Neck, south of Savannah. The trips range from beginner to intermediate in difficulty. Boat rental is available. For more information, visit ogeecheeriverkeeper.org.
And we are back with the Duchess of Cornwell.
Oh,
Cornwell. No. Langley Watts Cornwell.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about a couple films, and then we're going to skip into some more questions because this has been a fascinating interview with you, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I hope you are too.
I am indeed.
Silver Linings. Let's talk about Silver Linings.
Okay.
Real quick.
Well, this is a very important film because it's a true story about a gal who was in the military, and so was her husband. And she had 3 children. Mm-hmm. They were both deployed to different places.
Wow.
And when they came back together, within a few months, she turned up with HIV.
Wow.
And it is the true story of her life. And it was fascinating. The whole story was told in flashback. I played the district attorney, and the whole film took place in the courtroom, like I said, with flashbacks. And what was so meaningful to me was the fact that the gal was on set the whole time. The real lady.
So
yeah.
You had to really get it right.
Oh, yeah. I had to get it right. And her story is so compelling, and to be a part of bringing it into the social consciousness was a real honor. And I wanted to mention that. It's not on IMDb, but it's a big deal.
Well, what about Road to Destiny? Chat a little bit with me about that one.
Okay, that one's very interesting. It was written by a woman named Dr. Celeste Shepard, and it is about emancipation. It is an old-timey Western, and I'm a wealthy plantation owner, and my son falls in love with a slave, and then right after the Emancipation Proclamation, he decides he wants to marry her, and I am adamantly opposed to that. And so that was an interesting film because I played so against my own personal feelings that it was heavy.
It was pretty intense.
It was intense, yeah.
See, and you can totally be believable in those roles.
Too believable. I mean, this one was a little scary because, and thank you, and I appreciate that. And I'll just go ahead and tell this story because it's I think it's radio. It's okay for radio, but anyway, it was a complete. The whole set was African American. Me and the guy who plays my son were the only white people. And the day that I had to give a really scathing monologue.
Right.
After I was finished, it's like everything went silent. It is like all the air was sucked out of the room. And I felt bad because I went all in. And I felt really bad, like sad. And because I didn't know these people that well. And a friend of mine was on set named Tony, and she said, and just in the dead silence, she said, "Hey, people, I just want you to know Langley is acting, and she's a good actor. And
apparently so.
You just need to know that." And it kind of broke the spell, And so people were kind of like nervous laughing. And I said, and by the way, I didn't write the lines. I didn't write those lines.
Yeah,
I just
disclaimer there.
So it was that was an interesting scenario.
Well, I think that's when you've kind of nailed the role. And I mean, that you really encapsulated what needed to be presented there in that particular character.
And it was a message that they wanted to portray, and in order for that message to carry the weight that it needed to carry, I needed to be despicable.
Right.
And I was despicable.
So, in just the interest of time, because things are flying by, you have several other films. There were Cello and the 48 Hour, which was a fun, dark turn that we did with Aaron Paderewski and David Russo, Patrick Roper, and Dorothy Hadley. Jolly. You did Blush, Miles of Shadow. The list goes on. You've got an impressive resume there of films. But I really want to dive into some other questions that I think are real, that my listeners would really find value from, and I hope that they have. How did you get your start in the film industry? I think it's due to maybe a little cartoon character.
Oh, funny. Well, okay, so you asked the question film, but it wasn't really film.
Okay.
That was theater. And I started as a kid. And by the way, I will give you a picture for this because it is so funny. It has to be shown. But anyway, I was cast as Winnie the Pooh. In Winnie the Pooh, that was my first. Yeah. So that was my first big role. Yeah, and it got me started.
And how old were you?
I was in the 8th grade, so what is that?
14?
Yeah, 14.
That sound right? That's what my notes say.
Okay, 14.
I'm doing my research.
I know. Good for you. I'm impressed. But anyway, so that got us started, and it created a monster.
It was a musical, right?
It was a musical, yeah. Okay. I used to be a song and dance gal.
Well,
don't laugh.
Were you a corporate? No, I was thinking a corporate song and dance.
Yeah, right. Well, that's just one of the many chapters.
Jingles. Yeah, you wear many hats, as it were.
Used to.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we already talked about what I'm looking at my notes here. What actors inspire your acting? You've told us that. What movies? Are there any specific movies that you can point to and you can say, "My gosh, that changed my life"? Wizard of Oz. I don't know, Gone with the Wind, or
Gosh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Kind of hard to.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me because I'm like you. I'm a big movie buff.
Yeah.
And
is there anything that like influenced your style after you saw it? You're like, wow, maybe there's something I've learned. I mean, you mentioned those actresses.
I know. I was
actors.
saying it's more about the actor than it is the vehicle. I am very fond of the casual, conversational, natural. Just, I mean, I love that style. Like if this was a film,
right?
I would like for us to be talking like this.
Sure.
I have an acting teacher, and he says, I want to be able to walk into a Starbucks and look at a table and not know if they're running lines or having a real conversation. And so that really resonates with me. So when so here's a good little side story. Speaking of cello, and I was working with Dorothy, which I work with Dorothy a lot. Love Dorothy.
Awesome.
As we were sitting around, because as you know, there's a lot of sitting around in the 48, I would just start saying my lines to her, but I'd just say them normal, and she would think that I was just having like a regular conversation with her. So she'd be like, wait, now what? Are you talking about something,
I can
something
see her
Eddie
face doing
said?
that.
Yeah. Wait, now what? Are you talking about something Eddie said? Or you? Well, now wait, is this something Patrick said to you? And what? And I would just keep going with my lines, and she really didn't know that I was saying my lines. She thought I was just having a conversation, and so that's the way I like to practice.
Yeah, it's like I can carry on conversations with some people and speak totally in movie quotes. You know, to an extent, and then eventually they catch on.
Now,
you know.
Okay, so all right, talking about movie quotes in movies, I absolutely love "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou."
Okay.
And talking about movie
film.
quotes. I mean, when you said movie quotes,
yes,
because my husband and I often talk. I mean, we can have a whole conversation just by quoting "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou."
Wow.
And I mean, and we know what we're saying to each other, and nobody else would know. But so I love quotable quotes like that.
Yeah. For me, that's partly how I judge if a movie resonates with me over time. If I can have quotes from it, or you know, not, and of course the scenes and everything else. But that's just maybe it's a little tick I have. I don't know. But what's one of the things that inspires you most being in the film industry as a whole?
I say, you know, and you mentioned it earlier, and I didn't insert this, and I should have, but I'm really proud of the fact that we won Best Ensemble for Indeed, because for me, without doubt, my favorite thing is ensemble acting.
Oh, yeah.
And what inspires
when you have such
me,
a great
that was
group.
A good, absolutely. And I think that might be a throwback from my theater days, because I was a child actor, as we've discussed, and all of that was theater, and I did long runs. You know, I did like 9-month runs on a play, or tours, and you forge such a tight-knit ensemble, and so to be able to bring that to film and to just fuse together with each other to tell that story, that's what inspires me. That's like the holy grail.
Well, honestly, I had such a great time. That was my first 48, I believe. Well, my first one out of school from the Georgia Film Academy. We had done one in class, but that was the first one where I was on set, and I was sound mixer for that. And then I got my first nomination for sound. It was like I won the Academy Award. It was awesome. But working with that group of crew there was just magical. And then a lot of them worked on cello also, and we got to go dark, you know, and I was waiting for which I've noticed the trend. It's more than a trend, but I've noticed a lot of films are taking a more realistic, more darker approach, like definitely in this last 48, including cello, but in a lot of films I'm seeing, and sometimes that can be synonymous with being, not all the times, but it can be synonymous with being more serious, that taking the art form more serious.
And taking the material more seriously.
You know, and like cello, I'm waiting for David Harlan Russo. I'm waiting for David to write a sequel to that, you know, or turn it into a feature full length. That would be awesome, because I'd love to see where the characters go. And that's one of those stories, you know.
I will say that there has been some discussion, not about taking it that far, although that would be awesome, but there's a couple of scenes that I think that we could tell the story better if we inserted a couple of more scenes. And so there has been discussion about these scenes and if we could get together.
There was some stuff that we recorded that Sunday because I had to turn it in Sunday evening that I have the audio files of stuff that we did with Aaron and Patrick, and it was intense, and there was a lot of, from a sound mixer's point of view, it was really just some phenomenal stuff, you know, because my job is to paint the picture with sound.
Absolutely.
And I just enjoyed the overall camaraderie. I mean, I made a lot of, I'll call you my film friends, but I made a lot, you're all my friends, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Let's see, in your acting career, what have been some of the pitfalls you've experienced, and what did you learn from them?
That's good. For me, I think that the hardest thing is because I performed a certain way in theater, and when I was a professional theater actor, I did primarily either musicals or children's theater. Both of those are big,
right?
Like big, and very high energy, loud, you know, da 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 da. And film acting is completely different, and I very often fall into the pit of what seems like overacting to me, and it is. I work on that daily.
How so? Or how do you
I'll tell you. I
mean,
easy enough. I tend to be over-expressive with my face for film, especially when you're in a close-up or in an ultra close-up. And so, and especially I talk a lot with my eyebrows, and that is so distracting on film, on a close-up. And so maybe I'll put tape on my forehead so that when I'm practicing, so that if I'm doing my eyebrows, you know, at least I'm aware of it.
Now you're going to have me doing the
I know,
eyebrow
right?
thing
Now I
here.
look at you and I'm like, wait, where am I supposed to look?
Yeah.
So that's, you know, for instance, that's
interesting. That's interesting.
I need to understand from an audition standpoint where the person would be standing if I was having a real conversation, because a lot of times I want to project.
Well, that's you have to, is it emote or project? I guess it would be project. In theater, you're projecting.
Yeah.
In film, you got to kind of scale it back.
That's
you know,
it.
you're not in the big theater, and you don't get a second chance in theater. You know.
No, but see, I mean, like
you know, you don't get a second take, a third, fourth, fifth, whatever.
But I think it's more forgiving too, because people aren't right up in your grill. You know, I mean, they're not like right up in you. And see, I'm used to the diaphragmatic breathing from singing and from projecting. And so I have a tendency, even when I'm not trying, to like be loud spoken. And that doesn't play well on film. So I try to.
Well, everything I've seen you in, I've been impressed with.
Oh, thank you.
You've done well. You translate well to film.
Thank you.
And I really wish that a lot of filmmakers would look closer at your body of work in the film that you've done and see the potential that you represent and what you can do. Because like we were talking about boxes earlier and putting people in boxes, you definitely don't deserve to be in a box. No one does. But
thank you.
You're very talented that way. You answered that other question. How is acting in films different than TV? I'm looking at my notes I have here, things I just definitely wanted to cover.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges still? And we kind of already touched on this, but women in the film industry in all different roles, in front of the camera, behind the camera, what are some of the things, the obstacles you think that women still face? Equal pay.
I mean, just put a period at the end of that sentence.
Okay.
That's where, I mean, I think it was not right in corporate. It's not right in film. It's not right in the universe. You know,
I agree.
To me, that's my issue. I don't mind. I think if a woman is doing the same work, spending the same time, putting forth the same effort and everything else, I don't understand why a man's work is valued more highly than a woman's
like
work.
Like the film, that the part that was written for a gentleman, and then you played the part of it. Had that gentleman played it, he might have made more, possibly.
Perhaps.
You know, and that is unfair. That is inherently unfair. And I see the industry moving forward in that way and moving towards change. We're not there yet, but I can see that we're making steps, and at least awareness is always probably the first part of it, being aware of it, and I'm sure they were aware of it way back when. It's just
it's what they could get by with.
Yeah,
it doesn't have
the status quo.
Of course. And I'll tell you the other thing, without stepping too high up on a soapbox, the women actors, for instance, Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, any of these gals that demand equal pay are then dubbed as difficult or hard to work with.
A woman can be powerful and not be labeled as difficult.
I agree, but you're pretty evolved in that regard.
Well, I think we're getting there.
I do
like I said,
too.
we've got a lot of work. There's a lot of issues still in the film industry that, the Me Too movement is moving things forward and shedding light on some dirty practices that have been done. And those things, where there's light, there can't be darkness.
That's it.
So you let the light in and let's keep moving forward together. And I love the creative process and being around creative people, and I want to see that evolution in my lifetime. I want to see, where a Tom Hanks and a Langley get paid the same thing.
Oh, heck yeah!
Party at Langley's house.
Yeah, come on, at my new house.
One of them, but
right.
But so back to giving a little bit of advice. We kind of touched on this earlier. What's advice that you can give those that are coming up as actors in the business, and what are some lessons learned in your career that, had you known better, maybe you would have avoided that particular pitfall? What advice?
There's two areas that I think of in this regard. The first is, and I'm a Jack Plotnick disciple. If anybody's listening and they want to read a book, read Jack Plotnick's New Thought for Actors. It's a free ebook. Just look up jackplotnick.com and read that thing. Read it, because his main message is you are enough.
That's
you are
a
enough.
Beautiful message.
That's it. You are enough.
We have a lot of, I think, with the rise of social media and sometimes the darkness involved there of how people can just be terrible to one another. We discount each other's over political things, over other things. We just discount each other's importance. And I might have been saying something to the effect of this on Facebook the other day, but yeah, you are enough.
You are enough.
You are perfect already.
Absolutely.
Do we have things that we need to improve upon in ourselves and our lives every day? Yes. How we treat others, how we're perceived by others, but you're perfect. You're not, you don't have to look a certain way to be in a certain role. Yes, there are some roles that are written certain ways, but there's so many different
but what about that role
films
that was written for a black man and I ended
up
booking? I mean, come on. You are enough, and embrace your uniqueness. Just own it, man. Own it.
Own it.
Don't change because you think they're looking for something different. Just be you.
Because really, when you think they're looking for something different, something status quo, they're really looking for that unique person. That person, when they walk into the room or they start acting or they open their mouth and start singing or whatever, you're like, wow, I just saw something. I just witnessed something. It's like the birth of a star, quite literally, like a big bang in a way. And we need to see that every day in each other, I think, more personally, I think.
Well, I'll tell you something else along those lines.
Sure.
I think it's just kind of following up with what you just said, but also is like a rising tide raises all boats.
I love that.
Like, it can be a cutthroat industry, but it doesn't have to be. Some of the best friends I have ever made, I have gone up against time after time again. Two of my best friends, we audition for the same thing all the time.
I've been the person that's been on the receiving end in this industry early on in my career of someone who did not know my work that totally discounted me and said, you need to give up, and you need to come back in a couple years and try what you're doing. And I'm like, it threw me for a loop for a minute because I was like, really? There are people out there that still in 2018 act that way. You got to overcome that, and you got to move forward.
Yep.
Aging actors, do we market them better now or worse or the same? How do you think?
That's a great question. I think that some of my favorite actors are getting on up there, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and they are owning it. I mean, okay, I just saw 3 Tall Women on Broadway, and Glenda Jackson played Woman A, and the lady is in her mid-80s. And let me tell you what, and this was a huge theater on Broadway. She owned it. I've seen her in films. She owns it. Jane Fonda. Oh my gosh!
Come
on.
Well, she's wonderful.
Lily Tomlin.
Yes, I love that show that I don't remember the name of it.
I love that show, Frankie and Grace.
We are really running out of time. We really need to kind of end this, and this is fascinating. I'm always run out of time, but I'm going to fire off a few questions and give me your best answer.
Okay.
Where do you see your film career in 5 years?
I would like to be doing guest star, co-star, top of show roles.
You've already been on Vice Principals.
But I don't want. I'm not trying to be famous. I just want to be like a steady working actor.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. What are some creative ways you think that Savannah itself, the film community, can bring people together and empower them?
I tell you, the things that Savannah are doing right now with these film incentives and bringing more and more people in, I just think that's fantastic. I mean, more of the same, really. Don't fix something if it's not broken.
Right.
It's just awesome. I am so impressed with Georgia in general.
Yes, it's a great time to be in the film industry. We have a lot of crew mixers. I know Savannah Film Company does a lot to put these mixers together where we can meet other people in industry and we can talk to producers, directors.
There's a lot of great groups you can join. A lot of good Facebook
stuff on Facebook
and
all that. So Langley, I appreciate you so being here. This has been a fantastic interview. It was everything and more I hoped for.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, Ed. Thank you for inviting me.
Just stay there for a second, and we're going to close the show. And I want to thank everybody who's been listening. And thank you for joining me today on Savannah on Film. Savannah on Film wants to feature film professionals at different levels. So if you're listening and you're in the industry, I'd love to talk to you too. Our email is savannahonfilm@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook, where you can like our page if you would like to, on Savannah on Film. You'll hear this interview show up a little bit later on YouTube, where they all end up. You can hit that subscribe button if you feel like it. And we're also on Twitter. And remember that Savannah on Film is a voice for the Savannah film industry. And you've been listening to Savannah on Film with your host, myself, Ed Susevich, on WRUU 107.5 FM LP, Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. You have been listening to another episode of Savannah on Film, where we give a voice to the Savannah film community. Please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. This program was originally broadcast on 107.5 FM in Savannah, Georgia, and worldwide on www.wruu.org. Join us next time for more intriguing insights into the vibrant Savannah film community here at Savannah on Film.